Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Super Real.
I'm sitting at the trading desk and I get blood all over my shirt because I'm doing so much coke and my nose is bleeding in the office, you know? And he's like, come on, man, we got to talk. Like, what's going on? You got to stop this. Like, are you okay? Like, are you okay emotionally, mentally? Like, what the heck's going on? Why are you taking all these huge positions, you know? And, this is one of the problems is anybody that actually really cared about me, I used to push away because I didn't want the retribution, you know? I didn't want their judgment. And I couldn't see clearly that they cared about me and were trying to help me.
Hey, I'm Julian Morgans, and you're listening to What It Was Like, the show that asks people who have lived through big, dramatic events what it was like. Hey, welcome back. You know what my favorite kind of interview is? I think it's when we get to hear from the bad guy. So most weeks on this show, we get to hear from survivors or bystanders. A lot of the time we get to hear from cops. They're kind of the three buckets of guests that we have. But every now and then, I sit down with a person who is at the center of the mess. You know, they're the antagonist. And for me, it's those conversations that are always the most surprising and often the most illuminating. Now, today, we're going to run one of those stories. I've actually known this guy for quite a few years. So his name's John Rusnak, and him and I have known each other since probably 2018, 2019. I interviewed him a long time ago when I was at Vice, and we've stayed in contact since. And he's a significant guy because he committed one of the biggest cases of bank fraud in US history. And it all started in the 1990s when he was a rising star at Allied Irish Bank, and he was running their foreign currency trading desk. And at first, he was doing an amazing job. He was making them millions of dollars. They were really happy, so they gave him a really long leash. He had very little oversight. And he spiraled deeper into running these really risky trades that eventually cost the bank nearly $700 million. And when the scheme collapsed in 2001, John was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a story of greed. You know, you hear these kind of stories about white-collar crime and you're like, oh, that guy was just motivated by greed. He's a greedy bastard. That's what the problem is. But I think what makes John's story so interesting is to hear about what was happening inside his head. He was really stressed. He wasn't sleeping. And he had this feeling of impending doom the whole time. And not just that, but he was being really driven by this sense of inadequacy. It was this sense that he could never be quite enough. And it's what motivated him to keep doubling down and doubling down and doubling down until it all blew up. So I think on the surface, this is a story about power and money and addiction. But really, beneath all of that, it's a story about loneliness. It's really interesting stuff. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. Here is my conversation with John Rusnak. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
The pleasure's all mine. It's nice to see you. It's been a couple of years.
It's been more than a couple, yeah.
It's been a long couple of years. But you're looking good, you know? You've been working out?
Yeah, hit the gym most mornings.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to drag you back to probably a bit of an unhealthier period in your life. Apologies.
Okay.
Apologies for doing that. But I guess let's start kind of at the beginning. I want to start earlier in your upbringing. So tell me about where you grew up. Like what did your parents do?
Well, I lived in a working class neighborhood outside of Philadelphia that was racially diverse and bad schools. Definitely not affluent, and definitely not any sense of where I would be going or what I'd be doing. Like I didn't even think about going to college until I had this, I had someone mentor me in high school that said, look, you're getting all these good grades. Like you're smart. You got to go to college. You can't go work at the steel mill. And so I did. I got a scholarship to go to school, and I went to like the most white bread, waspy private school in America called Bucknell University, where I just did not fit in at all. But it was the beginning of me trying to fake it and fit in. And it's really one of the problems that led me astray. This deep sense of unworthiness that caused me to, when I had to go out and buy penny loafers and a rep tie and a blue blazer because I wanted to look like everybody else, where I was way more comfortable in my Flyers hat and my jeans and Eagles jersey,
Yeah. So you're making it sound as though like the big shot was never really you. On the inside, you were someone else. So I guess, which makes me wonder, like, who do you think you kind of were actually really in your younger years?
Well, I think I wasn't who I purported to be, but I fooled a lot of people. People thought that I knew exactly what I was doing, and they took me very seriously. And I pushed a lot of people around, and it worked actually very well. I hate to say that, but like intimidation and anger really, really are transformative in a workplace, especially in the 80s and 90s. Who I was really, I guess I was like a hurt little kid. That didn't really feel like I had a lot of value. So I had to create that value. And working on Wall Street, making a lot of money, it's like that just, man, if you want to pretend to be somebody you're not, that's a perfect place for it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've seen these movies, Wall Street. I've seen The Wolf of Wall Street. It looks like a rush. It makes it look fun.
Well, it's definitely empty, but it does have its pleasures. It's this immediate gratification culture, right? So like every day on the exchange floor, your profit loss was printed out and everybody saw it. And the guy whose name was first on that P&L statement, which is usually me, it was the big dog, So I did what I wanted all the time. I did not take other people's feelings into consideration. And I just got exactly what I wanted, or I thought I wanted.
So as a kid, I understand you were pretty good at maths. That was something that you could do, something you felt pretty confident in. How did that take you to Wall Street?
Well, I wanted to be a computer science major, but when I went to college, there was no such thing. So I ended up being a math major. I started to love math models, and the whole world. You have to say, like, if you're a carpenter and you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Like to me, everything was a math model that had to be solved. And I started watching futures movements and stock movements and even sort of just pattern recognition. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. There's something called the Fibonacci principles that are like, they were in that silly Dan Brown book. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Yeah, that's where I've heard it. Yeah, I was like, Fibonacci. I must be good at Wall Street stuff because I've heard of that.
Yeah, so everything's about pattern recognition in the markets. And it was something that I could really easily identify quicker than most. And say the market's for the quick and the dead. So like, if you could think on your feet and see a pattern beginning to form and then follow that pattern before it's fully developed, then you're going to make a lot of money for sure. And I was quite good at my job until I just went way overboard with the drugs and alcohol. That's what really screwed everything up.
Yeah, well, let's take it one step at a time. So tell me about. I understand you got your job on a trading floor because you were helping them to program the computers, and this was what, like
Exactly.
the early 90s?
Like 85, I think, 1985.
Okay, just run me through that.
Well, I had a friend whose father was like one of the few successful people in our neighborhood who was a vice president at a bank. Like, I didn't even know anybody who was a vice president. The only person who was the vice president of the United States. I had no idea about corporate hierarchy. And he gave me a job in their newly formed technology unit, which was just 3 people, me and 2 other guys. So I set up some trading software and helped him teach him how to use the computers. And then when I came back the following year, they wanted me to come work in the trading department. I told them no. I told them I would prefer to work in operations because that's where I thought my skills would lie. But luckily I had some guy smack me upside the head and tell me, like, you're coming to work with us, man. Don't even say that. Like, you haven't, I didn't have any idea about how much money they were making and what their lives were like until they explained it to me. And then once I got on the trading floor, it was just nonstop. We had a 24-hour trading operation in Philadelphia, London, and Hong Kong. And I got to travel all over the world and live in different places and work really hard. Until I finally moved to New York in like the, I don't know, early 90s.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about your first week on a trading floor. That must have been kind of exciting, right?
It was, yeah, it was really exciting. And it was stressful for a lot of people, but I really didn't stress over it. So it just seemed very natural to me. And I got to run my own book fairly quickly and just had a lot of freedom to do what I wanted. When I finally got onto a proprietary trading desk in New York, it's like I didn't have any job responsibilities. And I just sat around and did whatever I wanted all the time. And we had offices in Sydney back then, and I used to run like our night desk, which ran the same time as the Sydney hours. So I used to go over there and see those guys, and they were huge partiers, and the New Zealand guys were even crazier.
What do you mean by huge partiers? I mean, I'm just imagining Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I mean, just ludicrous amount of drugs and women and things like that. I always stayed away from the women. I really love my wife. She's awesome. So that's one thing I managed to stay out of. But I mean, the drugs and the alcohol and just the wasteful spending was, I mean, it's the prodigal son. It doesn't even compare. So
give me a snapshot of that? Because I see this stuff in movies, but like, how do you merge some kind of work culture with just debauchery like that? Give me your average Friday. What would it look like?
Well, when we lived in New York, it's like I'd work until like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and then we'd go out and start drinking, and then we'd eventually end up at dinner somewhere in a club. And back then, like, I could be down at the Village eating dinner at like 1 o'clock in the morning because New York's always open. It's not the same nowadays, but tie that in with just an incredible amount of drinking, a lot of cocaine, and just this sense of privilege that you like deserve to live that way. It was, it's really, really kind of filthy, to be honest with you. But
yeah. What did cocaine do for you personally? Why were you attracted to it?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the devil incarnate, man. It's just like it does everything you want it to do. We would go on crazy binges, where I wouldn't sleep and I just trade all night. And I remember I had a Bloomberg machine put in my house so I could stay up all night and trade. Because the markets are always open, and the guys on the Asian shift love me. They love having me trade all night with them because they were up working and I was just jamming it out from home. And I don't know, it was ridiculous.
I remember you once describing cocaine as, there's a movie, was it Limitless or something?
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent movie if you get a chance to watch it, where this guy starts taking, and it's tied into the financial markets as well. He starts to take this drug that gives him insight into how markets move and makes him very intelligent. Now, I don't think cocaine makes you intelligent, but it makes you feel like you're intelligent. And if you're in a job where you have to make very fast decisions, then coke works really well. I mean, it does keep you hyped up until it's gone. So, they say like a gas and a brake, like I need to have coke and alcohol, start and finish, start and stop, Can
I just ask, how much in like the first year of working on a trading floor, how much money were you making?
I mean, enough to be totally liquid, to do whatever I wanted. I don't really know. I think my wife would be unhappy with me if I started to share how much money we had made at one point.
That's all right.
I remember the first bonus I got, I just remember calling her like, you're not, I try not to swear anymore, but I was just on the phone with her, like, you're not going to fucking believe what they just gave me as a bonus this year. And she's like, okay, that's great. Like, we should quit our jobs. Like, okay, great. So I go into my boss, say, like, I'm quitting. I'm going to Africa because my wife wanted to go on a safari. So he's like, you're not quitting your job. Like, you're my best guy. You can't quit. And I'm like, well, I just told you I'm quitting. What do you mean? He's like, no, here's what you do. Take a month off, go to Africa. I bought a house in Connecticut. I bought a new car and we went away for a month. And then I came back and started trading again. And then the problem with money, you know, they say money's not the root of all evil. It's the love of money, right? Is the root of all evil. So this sense that like there was never enough. Like I could be content now, not making a lot of money, but then no matter how much I made, I was never content. I always wanted to make more. And that drove me into, you know, some really bad decisions.
Yeah. I've never had the opportunity to be like buying houses and cars and, you know, anything I want. But I can imagine that once you're on that ride, it's pretty addictive. You said before that your boss called you his best guy. So like, what were you doing that made you the best at that time?
I mean, this was before I came down to Maryland and got into all that trouble. But like when I was working in New York, I was fearless, you know, and I was like I said, in a way, I was faking it. But on the trading floor, I was very self-confident, and I could just make swift decisions and stick with them. And yeah, the market is really focused by influence you have on other people, you know. So there was this guy named Jack who was really funny. Everybody knew him in the trading market. And whatever he did, everybody else wanted to do it. So he got up one day. He's reading like Time magazine, some article about Japan. And he's like, that's it. I'm selling the yen. This is a disaster. So he stands up in his chair and goes, everybody, you know, you call around the different banks and get prices in the dollar against the yen, or use computers to contact people. Everybody out and like, just, you know, pay them, just keep buying it, buy it. And the whole room's in an absolute panic because he's screaming at the top of his lungs, buying like every single dollar he can get in sight and shorting the yen. And then the news gets out that it's him. So other people start following it. It becomes like this self-fulfilling prophecy. So then he leaves. He goes to the bar to get drunk. Like he has this huge position on it, and he leaves. And I go walk over to his desk, and the article he's reading is from like 6 months ago. You know, it's like no relevance at all. It's just that he had the power of to influence people in a big way. And when you're really self-confident and you influence people, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, especially if you know who the big funds are and what they're doing and how you interact with them. So there was always a reason for us to try to meet people.
Yeah. It's interesting. So if we're looking at this story through a lens of ego or arrogance or pride or whatever you want to call it, it sounds like a feedback loop. It's a very reinforcing thing because you do a little bit. You're doing well, it gives you a bit of confidence, and you do a bit better because you're a bit more confident. And then the market has this feedback sort of mechanism in it where it rewards your confidence. So it's a slippery slope. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that being said, there are a lot of really decent guys that work in the financial markets. They're Christian or faithful guys or, guys who have families and do things ethically and correct. So it's not everybody. There's a lot of us, but there are normal people who work in the financial markets and conduct themselves like adults. Just none of the guys I worked with.
Yeah, I guess I'm not critiquing the people in the financial markets. I'm simply saying that temptation must have always been there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar temptation to gambling. And I used to love to gamble. Holy cow, that was like, I was gambling for work all day, and then we'd go to Vegas and gamble like crazy and stay up for days, you know? And I just couldn't get enough, you know? That was, I was never on sensory overload. Like whatever I was doing, I needed more, you know? So I couldn't satisfy that desire for risk. And risk, even when you're losing money, is very exciting. I mean, it sort of feeds you, you know?
Were you unusual on the trading floor, or were you just the one who happened to come undone? Or, but like, was this sort of behavior being mirrored all around you?
Well, I made a lot of bets on things that didn't work out, but I made a lot of bets on things that worked out very well. The thing that started this downward spiral was an accident. It was a trade that got put in incorrectly, and because I went out that night instead of staying in and checking everything, I didn't catch it for a couple of days. And by the time I caught it, it was a tremendous loss. I mean, not nearly what I lost in total, but I started I think I've said this to you before, like the drunk in Atlantic City who bets $500 on red, and then it comes up black, so he bets $1,000, and then it comes up black again, so he bets 10 grand, and then all of a sudden that comes up black again, so he bets on black, and it comes up red. So it became this sort of irresponsible, sort of unholy doubling up of bets to try to make it back, which was just a really bad idea. And then combining all that guilt and shame over the mistake with drugs and alcohol made my life unmanageable. And my life had become unmanageable, but I didn't want to own up to it. I don't want to face it, Was it a conscious decision to not own up to this mistake, or were you just kind of on autopilot by that point? No, it was definitely a conscious decision. I had my whole identity tied up in being a trader. Like, that's what made me feel like I was smart. It made me feel like especially when I moved down here to Baltimore, like, this is private schools and country clubs down here, man. It's like, it's a weird place to live. I mean, there's like a lot of cool places in the city that are sort of vibrant and diverse and stuff, but there's all these white neighborhoods that are just like all these rich guys. We were lawyers, doctors, or Indian chiefs. And they all had identity in what they did and what country club they belonged to and what private school they sent their kids to. And my whole identity was tied up in being a trader and like pushing that in people's faces, the guys used to call me Big Splash. That was my nickname. So
that's kind of a cool nickname. I like that. I thought
so. At the time, It seemed like a good idea, right? I didn't mean to make that big of a splash, though. You made a big splash. Yeah, I could have been like just minor splash would have been better.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I definitely decided that I was going to fix it, that I was going to figure it out, and that I was going to make it back. And that's never a good idea. I still do it sometimes with my own trading account on much smaller amounts. It's like I was super long in Netflix shares the other day, like with a bunch of options, like really leveraged up. And it wasn't millions of dollars or anything. I don't mean it like that, but it was an amount of money that was, somewhat significant to us in our retirement coming up. And I just started to get whacked on it. I'm like, that's it. I got to buy more of this stuff. And I finally said, I called my AA sponsor. Like, I think I'm losing it. And he said, just sell everything. All right, well, I'm going to wait a little while. The options expire in like 5 hours. So I waited and the market just exploded. And like, I honestly, I felt like I made $1 million and I didn't make $1 million. I didn't really make that much money at all. But to me, it was a lot of money. And it was sort of fed into that old hype about, hey, look, I'm good at this, and like that makes me a good person. And let me see if I can get more adrenaline rush from that. So, but luckily I got a great sponsor in AA. He tells me to shut up a lot. So.
Hey, we're going to pause here for a quick ad break, but stick around because we're going to come right back for more What It Was Like. Hey, it's me again. I'm in the ad break. I've got a little ad for you, little message. So this story that you're listening to right now, I actually found this story while I was on holiday. My partner and I, we recently went to Bali and we booked this trip through luxuryescapes.com and it was incredible. We got massages, breakfasts, transfers, the works, all in these really easy package deals. And honestly, you just can't underestimate the medicinal benefits of a holiday. And I really highly recommend, if you're in need of a creative rejuvenation, go check out the world's best holidays at the world's best resorts, handpicked by experts, and at package prices at luxuryescapes.com.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, Get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Did you know Tide has been upgraded to provide an even better clean in cold water? Tide is specifically designed to fight any stain you throw at it, even in cold. Butter? Yep. Chocolate ice cream? Sure thing. Barbecue sauce? Tide's got you covered. You don't need to use warm water. Additionally, Tide Pods let you confidently fight tough stains with new Coldzyme technology. Just remember, if it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
So back to the story. So you tried to double down on your losses, right? You're trying to claw back this money you've lost. I think you said it was, what, 25 mil?
It's about that. Yeah, I don't want to get too specific because you just never know when this stuff pops up again in court. There's people still suing each other over the whole thing. So
okay, all right, but let's say you lost a fair bit of money, and that must have been the start of a pretty stressful time.
Yeah, it was. It was very stressful. I mean, there's nothing more damaging than keeping a secret or a lie, you know? It's like, I try not to lie anymore. And it's like, it makes life a lot easier. I don't have to keep covered by tracks, you know? Not that I don't lie. Everybody makes mistakes from time to time. Yeah. But like, it's a whole lot easier, like trying to balance that out and make that money back at the same time. I had to hide everything and the terrible things I had to do to hide the problems. A lot of intimidation, you know, a lot of stupidity.
Tell me about that, because I'm guessing there was a whole lot of, oversight and checks and balances. How did you get past? How did you hide your losses past the people trying to look over your shoulder?
Well, I mean, the problem is that if the people that oversee you, both for risk control and also for management oversight, if they profit from your trading, like directly profit from your trading, then there's always a reason to look away. And that's really what happened. Then when it got so bad, then no one wanted to face up to it. So, I had pretty senior executives come to me and say, like, you got to shut this down. And I'm like, I'm not shutting it down. You forget about it. We're not shutting it down. Like, I don't know what you want to do. Like, if you want to call the FBI, go for it, because they're going to fire you first. So, if you want to, go ahead, but I'm not shutting it down. We're going to keep going.
So that sounds like you were pretty sure in your own abilities to turn this around, or was it more desperation?
It was desperation. Yeah, it was stupidity. It was misplaced, a misplaced belief that I could fix it, and just never works out,
And was this the first time in your life that you'd kind of experimented with intimidation? And like, you don't strike me as like a bully. This sounds like it would have been a new experience for you.
Well, I mean, the problem with the financial markets in the 80s and 90s is that in New York especially, that was before Giuliani cracked down on the mob. So all the Italian guys wanted to be investment bankers, and all the investment bankers wanted to be mobsters. So it was like we're just hanging out with these guys all the time. It was like it was a crazy situation, like I'm 25 years old working on Wall Street and carrying a gun. I mean, what the heck is that about,
Were you carrying a gun?
Stupid, yeah. Not that I ever really wanted to shoot anybody.
What were you doing with it?
I mean, all my guys had guns, so I don't know. It's widespread stupidity that just grows and grows and grows, And as you start to think things are normal, you lose sight of the fact that they're ridiculous, Probably the only person I was going to shoot would be myself, I'd never even been to a gun range, for heaven's sakes,
Did you shoot the gun? Did you ever like take off any like Coke cans on the roof or anything?
Yeah, we shot it. I didn't shoot it at anybody. I didn't really want to. I don't know. I just liked I liked the feel of having it, and the sort of potential for intimidation with it. No, I didn't really use it that way. But I had a bunch of friends who were just straight thugs, and like they would do anything for me. Those guys, none of those guys testified against me. All my white bread, waspy guys all testified against me at the drop of a hat, But those Italian guys, they don't, there was a joke you used to say, it's like, never rattle your friends and always keep your fucking mouth shut, So, and that's really the way it was. I mean, those guys were really good to me. And actually they were good to me when I was locked up too, because they knew I didn't want to be around them anymore. Well, not that I didn't want to be around them, but I promised my wife I was going to just not get any closer to those guys. And don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you I was John Gotti. I wasn't. I was just tangentially involved, But they knew I wanted to hang out with the Christian guys when I was in jail, but they'd always check in on me. Somebody'd come up to me if I went to a new place and go, "Hey, Johnny, how you doing?" Joe says hello. He says you're going to hang out with the Christian guys, but if you need anything, you just let us know. Like, you got no problems here. Yeah, it was actually nice. I got a lot of good meals too.
All right. Okay. So how did you take 25 mil in losses and just like inflate it? Like what was happening over the next few months?
I just kept borrowing more money. It's like I was in the Fed funds market borrowing like $600-700 a day, $600 or $700 million a day, which is like market moving stuff, that everybody knew there was something wrong because I had this massive hole in my balance sheet that I needed to fund. And it just couldn't be mistaken. It's not like, the perception here in the media was that I was like this lone wolf and nobody knew what was going on. And there was no way to know because I was like this super angry genius who fooled everybody. But like, you can't borrow $700 million a day and not have anybody know that,
Wow. So really this was like a symptomatic thing of the culture of the trading world. I mean, at a guess, how many people, I don't want you to name any names or like do any snitching whatsoever, but like at a guess, how many people do you think had to be sort of willfully looking away?
Almost everybody. I worked on an open trading floor and I was trading like $1 billion at a time, everybody could see how angry I was and all the bad stuff I was doing at work and throwing my phone, breaking screens, just telling people telling people off all the time. And like it's pretty easy to see what kind of position somebody has on, right? It'd be like if you and I went to the casino and, you look down at the casino and I got $100,000 on the table. Like, well, there's something going on, right? Like there's something wrong here, right? Because this guy tells you he's a, chaplain in the jail, but he's got $100,000 on the table. Who did I steal that from, or what am I doing incorrectly? So my thought is that, and I do take personal responsibility for the fact that I did this and it was my fault, but there were people all around me who knew that things were out of whack.
Were you like a source of amusement for them, or they were worried about getting in trouble if they dobbed you in, or like what was their motivation for staying quiet?
I mean, we used to take a lot of people out with us, so like it was nothing for us to take half the room out to dinner or out to play golf or on like some sort of junket trip to New York or wherever we were going. Like, so people benefited from that. And it was, not everybody was using drugs, but a big drinking culture. It was an Irish bank. So, the drinking was a big deal. So people benefited from it. And then they didn't really understand. So like, I don't think they wanted to call me out, because I don't think they thought they could prove it. Maybe, I don't know. I can't say, I don't have a lot of insight into what they were thinking.
Did you have anyone during that period who came up to you and said, "Hey, John, what's going on? Let's just close the door and have a real heart to heart here"?
Yeah, I mean, I had one of the guys that purported to be a buddy of mine. Like, I'm sitting at the trading desk and I got blood all over my shirt because I'm doing so much coke and my nose is bleeding in the office, And he's like, "Come on, man, we got to talk. Like, what's going on? You got to stop this. Like, are you okay? Like, are you okay emotionally, mentally? Like, what the heck's going on? Why are you taking all these huge positions, And, this is one of the problems is that anybody that actually really cared about me, I used to push away because I didn't want the retribution, I I didn't want their judgment. And I couldn't see clearly that they cared about me and were trying to help me.
If you'd taken the drugs out of the equation here, do you think you would have been more open to this kind of suggestion or people reaching out?
Probably, yeah. I'd say, because it blurs your thought process, you know. And I just don't really like the person I am when I'm drinking and using. So it did drive me deeper into isolation.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to get a hand on what you were thinking at this time. Like, where's your head at? Like, it just seems like you're on this kamikaze ride to the bottom, and I just can't see that. I can't see that you believed that it was going to be okay either.
I don't know. My thinking was really distorted. I did actually think it would probably work out, you know. I mean, the last couple of months, I was sure it wasn't going to work out. Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, tell me when you really hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it was Christmas. We used to go to New York at Christmas time all the time. My wife liked being up there. I had limitless amount of people who wanted to take me out and give me a limo and, you know, and like screw around the city for as long as I wanted. And my favorite restaurant is a place called Il Molino's it's in the Village, kind of. It's Lower East Side Village.
It's like Italian?
Yeah, fantastic Italian.
Yeah,
like
sounds nice.
Lobster Fra Diablo and grappa and all the criminals ate there. So
perfect.
Yeah, it was really good. So anyway, I was there, and I was there with one of my brokers and my wife, and I've just been drinking all day, and it was snowing outside, and it should have been this beautiful day in New York. You know, we didn't have the kids with us, so we were, you know, we could have had a nice romantic weekend, and everything could have been great, you know, but it just went the other way. Like, I'm sitting in front of my wife, just totally drunk, acting like an idiot, talking to these guys about volatility, prices in the markets, and the Fibonacci retracement numbers and all, whatever you want to call it. I used to be in this thing called chaos theory, that you could make, you could find pattern in chaos. And I would just go off on stupid stuff like that. And I know our wife's looking at me like, this guy's insane. Like, what?
No, I know.
Where's the guy married?
Chaos theory is very, very interesting. You know, there's sort of like the interplay between fractals and chaos theory, and there's sort of this whole it's very Joe Rogan world of like nerdy bro shit. In this moment at this restaurant, what were your losses at that time, and were you what was your position in the market? Like, give me that side of the story. I
was ridiculously short of dollar yen. I had been buying put options on the yen, and just doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. And the market was going crazy at the dinner. Like, I used to carry around I can't remember what we even called them. They were like little clickers, you know, before the internet. It's kind of like a pager, but it had stock and futures prices that updated on it automatically. And it was a pager too. So I'm like sitting at the table looking at this stupid thing like every 2 seconds. I was like, what are you doing? Can't you put that thing down? I'm like, no, I can't. You know, the market is flying and I've got a huge position. And I was just obsessed by it, you know.
And you were watching in real time as you were what? You were sort of like close to $700 million in the hole.
Something like that, yeah.
What does that feel like? Can you do your very best to describe that feeling?
I mean, just think about the dumbest thing you ever did, and then that becomes something that everybody knows about, you know. I mean, we're blessed in a lot of ways, like, you know, over the years, like even when I've struggled with my sobriety, like usually people don't know, you know. But I now I'm transparent about it, but 20 years ago I wasn't transparent about it. And you just get this sense that like you've done something so egregious. I didn't realize what the consequences were going to be honest with you. I mean, I knew it was a big problem, but I thought the bank would be so embarrassed by it, they'd just hide it and let it go, you know. But they really couldn't. It was too much. It was too many people in the market knew about it.
Okay. And so did you tell your wife this night, like this sort of Christmas dinner night?
No, I didn't. I didn't tell her for a long time. But, you know, that being said, like I'm hanging out with a bunch of criminals all the time and I'm never home. And when I am home, I'm raging, you know? So it was pretty clear to a lot of people that I was on a really negative path.
How long? So this period here that you're describing where you were just like really on your knees, how long was this period in total?
It was like the last two months or so. Yeah, about 2 months.
How were you sleeping during this period?
I wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep. I was just up all the time. And, yeah, no, I mean, it's a, you know, reality is tough to take a bite of sometimes, you know. You don't really want to. You know, like I said, I had defined myself as this trader, this successful guy. People had to be nice to me because they needed me. And, you know, to actually admit that failing was terrible. But once it was done, holy cow, it was great. Like when I finally confessed and put it all on the table, I felt like this weight lifted off my shoulders, you know.
Okay, so take me to the period in which you came clean. Like, how did that start? What got the ball rolling?
You know, it's like I just didn't perceive the problem to be as large as it really was. You know, I went to one of my buddies who's a lawyer, and I started telling him what was wrong, and then I needed somebody to help me negotiate with the FBI. And he's like, John, I don't. There's not even any way that I can't help you with this. It's too big. Like this is going to be like a national media story. Like I can't handle it. So he connects me with a guy down here. David Irwin was my lawyer, and he's really good. He was an ex-prosecutor, and he just knew everybody. And he took me in, and first thing I told the guys was, look, like I'm totally content to rat myself out. I'll tell you everything I did, and I'll accept responsibility for that. And I did get time off my sentence for acceptance of responsibility. But don't ask me about anybody else. Like you can, you could figure that out if you want, but you're not going to get that from me. But I just had that deeply ingrained in me. And I'm glad I did that. Like I wanted to take responsibility for my own actions, but I didn't want to drag other people down with me.
And what was the catalyst? Because I understand you eventually came clean to your wife. Like that was the first step in this kind of journey, right? Can you tell me about that? What was the catalyst?
Well, yeah, it's like, look, we got to get out of town. Like this thing's going to break and I got some problems. So load the car up, you know, and I'm walking around with a ton of cash in my pocket and, load the car up, take the pictures and take the kids and let's get out of here, you know? And,
were you planning to flee originally?
No, I wasn't. I just wanted to take the heat off for a couple of days, you know? I didn't want to have to deal with it until I was ready to deal with it. So I was just away for like 3 days. I came back and like, you know, Irish Public Radio, Irish Times, New York Times, Wall Street Journal are all like on my front porch, you know.
How did they find out while you were away?
So I had been talking to my lawyer and he had arranged with the FBI for me to talk to them. And once the bank found out that I took it to the FBI, then they went public with it. So, which was like a self-defense mechanism, I suppose. So like it was in all the papers like the next morning.
Okay.
And,
Okay, so we've got this chronology sort of inside out a little bit. So first you went to your lawyer. The lawyer was like, this is huge. Kicked you over to his friend and you went to the FBI. And then you went away for the weekend with your wife and with the kids.
No,
right?
I didn't actually speak to them. I just had my lawyer was speaking to them while I was away. I didn't speak to them. They actually called me like, you know, like, we know where you are. Okay, fair enough. You know where I am. I know where I am as well. I'm in some hotel in Delaware, you know, and like, this is where, you know, they said, well, do you want to talk to us? And I said, well, I have a lawyer and he's representing me. So like, he said he would be in touch. I think he already has been. And then they were like, well, we can't talk to you anymore if you tell us you have a lawyer. So I had to wait until that was over. They weren't, you know, they knew it wasn't going anywhere. So it's not like this is one of the things about one of the real basic unfairness I see in the penal system nowadays and the legal system is because I was white and affluent. they treated me with kid gloves. Like I was a jerk. I'm like, if that had been like, and frankly, just talking about race guy, if that had been some black kid on the streets of Baltimore, like dealing $500 worth of heroin, he'd been locked up right away, right? But the whole system it's a mess.
Hey, it's time for a quick ad break here, but please don't go anywhere. Stick around because we'll be right back.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
I'm guessing while you're away, you talk to your wife about this, and I'd love to hear that story.
In a lot of ways, it was a relief to her, right? Because I was so angry and upset that it seemed to her like I didn't want to be with her, It was the Super Bowl. I think it was the Rams won the Super Bowl that year. And we were watching the game, and then we went to the bar and just started talking a little bit. Like, we had to leave the bar because it's such a big conversation. Like, I didn't want anyone to overhear that, Like, you don't want to be sitting at a bar and telling somebody that, the FBI is looking for you. So I just sort of came clean to her. And then she said, well, okay, at least now I know why you've been like this, It's not that you hate me. It's just that you're out of control, and one of the things, it's really not good to have your wife as your accountability partner. Like, you need to have guys to be your accountability partners. But one thing she did say to me was, like, as long as you're going to take responsibility for this, I'm going to stay with you because I know that God hates divorce. So I won't leave you. All our friends, once this came out, all our friends were telling her to leave me, straight away. And it's like, I'll stick with you, but you got to accept responsibility. The two things was, you got to accept responsibility. You got to stop hanging out with those Italian guys. So, all right, fair enough. I can do both of those, I think. I'll just have to break it to him gently, though.
This is a personal question, but do you think that she still loved you at that point?
No, I think probably not. I think she knew that God hated divorce, so she didn't want to divorce me. I think she had to fall back in love with me. And that you can't solve things like that with an apology. And it's one of the things we say in AA all the time. Like, it's saying you're sorry is pointless, Like, you have to make a living amends is what we call it. Like a living amends, like, I'm a different person. This is how I live my life now, not how I used to live it. So it took a long time. And then obviously when I went to jail, like, things got a lot better really quickly. As I realized that I could be fine in jail. The whole lie about violence and rape and things like that in jail is just not true. It's not true. There's honor amongst thieves, so to speak, So I just treat everybody with respect, mind your own business, and just keep it moving, so to speak. And what I realized was that the guys I was locked up with, there was a massive dichotomy. Like, all the white guys went to the Catholic services, and I wanted to go to Pentecostal services. So I went to the Pentecostal service for all the black guys, and like, they were a lot more fun to hang out with, and they were good to me too. There's a lot more. I think there's a lot more grace and mercy in the black culture than there is in the white culture. So it was pretty cool. And then obviously I was working out every day and losing a lot of weight, and my wife knew that I was taking my faith really seriously. And I was writing her letters every day and letters to the kids and stuff. So she started to see a pretty big change in me pretty quickly. But it's going to be a long time. I ended up doing 5.5 years, It's like, it's not 6 months, And I could have done more than that, to be honest with you. I'm surprised. I got sentenced right before the Enron guys got sentenced, if you remember back then.
That was that was huge. Enron
that was the huge marker. That was like remarking prison sentences for white-collar criminals. Those guys got 25 years. One of the guys offed himself, but they got 25 years. And that, like, if I had been sentenced after that, I probably would have would have received 25 years too, because it sort of reset the guideline for sentencing.
Yeah, there was a bit of a sort of anti-capitalist zeitgeist thing going on at that time. I remember Michael Moore documentaries were a big deal at that moment, and he was, he was angry.
Rightfully so. It's not. I mean, it's not capitalism when it's oligarchy. It's just not. It's not I'm a big fan of capitalism. I'm just not a big fan of doing what I did or how people handle their finances.
Do you remember the day that you were arrested?
I wasn't really arrested, to be honest with you. Like I did have to go to a court hearing, and I just remember them saying to me, like, okay, we're going to go down and go before the judge. I was in the FBI's office. They're like, all right, well, listen, you're in our custody now, and you'll get a day's credit for this when you go to jail. So I'm walking around, joking around, and we show up at the place that's outside the courtroom, and I got a suit on, and the officer behind the counter said, all right, which one of you guys is the bank robber? And I pointed at one of the FBI guys. It's him, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like, all right, I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. Relax, But again, it's like, it was like people's perception of me because I was in a suit and tie and looked like I was educated, like that maybe I wasn't really that bad of a guy,
Yeah. And do you remember walking into the prison for the first time? What did that feel like?
Yeah, that was I just didn't know what to expect, I mean, I talked to a lot of guys, I talked to a lot of my buddies and who had been in before, and but they lived a whole different life inside because they run a lot of those jails, and so I knew my experience was going to be a little bit different. But the first place I went was Fort Dix in New Jersey, which is a federal correctional institution in southern Jersey, and it's just staffed by a bunch of Brooklyn kids, who smuggle stuff in all the time. And it took me just a couple of days to figure out, that it wasn't going to be all that bad. I did get moved around a lot, and I got sent from one side of the one. There was two compounds on the east and the west side, and I got moved over to the west side because I was being transferred, and then they lost my paperwork. That's one thing in jail. Like, you got to have your paperwork, because especially if you're a white guy, like, you got to show that you're not a pedophile and you didn't testify. So, like, that's my first cell. He told me, it was like, take your paperwork, your legal paperwork, and leave it on top of your locker. And if anyone wants to read it, they can read it. And no one's going to read it because you have it in the open. There was always, I mean, those are the two things you really can't do when you're in jail. You can't be in for a sex offense, and you can't testify against people. Those are the only things that really put you at risk.
They're the rules. Yeah, I feel like embezzlement in the context of a jail is almost like a cool crime. Like, you'd get a fair bit of leeway from the other guys because you're like, yeah, $700 million. That's a big number. Yeah. Was it like that?
It was a little bit. I have this picture of my buddies that I hung out with. They were in my Bible study, and the guys were laughing at me, like, because you take all these like thug pictures where everyone's going like that, and they're like, I have this picture. I remember the guy saying, "Look at you, man! Like, you got dirty sneakers on and like prison clothes. Like, we're all the ones all dressed up for this thing. Like, you got all this money, you don't care." I'm like, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not trying to impress anybody in jail. So yeah, I got scuffed up sneakers and from working out, and I didn't care. I didn't care.
That's interesting. How long do you think it took you to shed your previous identity? Like this transformation from this Wall Street big shot with the house and the all the stuff to just like you've gone through this period of public disgrace and you become someone else. How long did that take? And, what was that experience like? I
mean, it was shed from me, like the weight. I lost like almost 100 pounds when I was in jail, and I put some of it back on, unfortunately, when I got out. But like, it was the same thing. Like, it all happened very quickly. There were some guys that I met, they were inside, that were just super dirt bags. There used to be a company called First Jersey Securities, like, it was run by this guy, Robert Brennan, and he was in Fort Dix with me. And like, I mean, the guy was so arrogant, it was out of control, And I started to quickly feel like that's not who I want to be anymore. Like if you're in prison and you're still arrogant, like you're really not facing up to the reality of the situation, right? You're not owning anything. You know, you got to own it. So it happened really quickly, and like the faith bit helped quite a lot, you know, and like, yeah, I was just reading the Bible like crazy and going to every single worship service I could go to, and working out all the time. And it's weird. I mean, I know it seems kind of crazy, but in a lot of ways, there were a lot of good things happening. Obviously, deprivation of contact with my family was the worst part of it for sure. Not seeing my kids and stuff, but there were still good things happening. I made a lot of really good friends. Many of them I still keep in touch with.
How did you feel about being in the public eye? Because up until this point, you know, you'd been largely invisible, and then suddenly the national press took a huge interest in your story.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was weird. I mean, the angle they took on it was like, here's this nice white guy who's on the school board and on the charity board and sends his kids to private school, but he leads this double life, you know? Like, they didn't really know me. They didn't know me at all. Like, if they had known me, they wouldn't have printed that in the papers, you know, because it wasn't true. I mean, I was raging all over town. Like, I definitely had been thrown out of most decent restaurants and clubs in town, so...
I mean, what was the hardest part of this process? You're actually making it sound as though like this public disgrace was kind of good, like it was redemptive. But was there any part of it that you really struggled with?
Well, I didn't like the way it affected my family and my wife. You know, that was a big problem. The day I was sentenced, my wife was out of town, and I had to drop the kids off at a friend's house to babysit them. And then it's like, listen, don't let the kids watch TV. I'm going to be on TV today for the sentencing. You know, so I felt so bad for the lady who watched the kids. She was like crying when I came to pick the kids up. I'm like, don't worry, it's okay, right? It's fine. Let me just have the kids and I'm going to get out of here. So there was some condemnation of my wife, as if she had played some sort of role in it, which she didn't, or that she was too stupid to leave me, or, you know, none of that's true, obviously. But I didn't really like that. I don't know. I'm kind of an introvert, so I don't really go out that much anymore.
And you said earlier that you had to win back the love from your wife. How did you do that?
Well, I said we were in the AA program, we call it a living amends, right? So it's just by being a different person. There's nothing I could say, even now, like, you know, I can't make up for the mistakes I've made, whether they've been around this criminal effort or about my drug and alcohol use, or just all the dastardly things I did that didn't regard her at all. I can't make up for those things. I'm never going to be able to change them. And I'm sure a lot of them she doesn't forget, you know, which still, even to this day, like makes her somewhat distrustful of me. But just by being a different person is the only way I could really make a difference.
So it sounds like you left prison. What, after 5 years, you finished your sentence, and it sounds like you were a very different person.
Yeah, I mean, and like, you know, recovery and life change is not linear. You know, like I've been home for, I don't know, about 20 years, but it's not like everything went perfectly straight. You know, there've been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of mistakes. You know. Especially as I try to navigate back into the business world, like that really, I definitely had people come up to me and say, like, you're doing it again. You know, like I started to build these Zips dry cleaners, and I started to make a decent amount of money again, you know, and I had 6 of them at one point, and like I started to think like, okay, well, maybe I'm not a Wall Street guy, but now I'm going to be this huge retail guy, and I'm going to let everybody know that I'm smart enough to make money doing this stuff. So I did get checked. I had some good friends who checked me on that. Like, don't do that. So the Zips turned out to be a great thing, because the joke is we only hire felons and recovering addicts, including myself. So like I had hired a bunch of guys from halfway houses or coming out of jail, and worked with a lot of my buddies who were in parachurch ministries to sort of recruit guys to work. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's like you give a guy an opportunity who's coming out of jail to work hard and be successful and have more than just like a, you know, hourly wage, but like an actual chance to earn a position and a career, like the loyalty is out of control. It's like kind of loyalty you don't get from other people in the markets. So anyway,
Yeah.
it was good stuff. It was really good stuff,
And so after this was the dry cleaning, did you say, or was it like laundromats?
Yeah, it was called Zips Dry Cleaners. It's like $1.99 dry cleaner, and
Okay.
and I opened some restaurants and did a couple of different things because I'm not employable, I can't have a regular job. Can't go back into T. Rowe Price and try to work there, So I always had to sort of make my own way. But really the thing that really changed, that really got me back on the right path was when I decided to leave all that stuff behind and run uncuffed, I mean, I was on the board and I was a volunteer, and they put together a committee to try to replace the executive director because he didn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, well, here's this job that doesn't pay very much, really doesn't have a lot of respect, and is a major pain in the neck. Like, there's not a whole lot of people out there that want to do it. And I just got the sense that God was calling me. I was on a retreat with some of my middle school boys, and I just felt like God calling me into the ministry. So I did it, and it's been a beautiful thing. I mean, I can't tell you, like, I'm not trying to say we're some huge organization, but, you've seen on our website, there's a lot of people involved and a lot of people being affected. So if you can slip in a little reference to uncuffedministries.org, I'd love to have people look at that website and subscribe to our blog and hear some of the stories and the videos.
Okay, so can you just because I know we've talked about Uncuffed, but what is it? Can you just describe it? Give me like the elevator pitch so we're clear on what it is.
Yeah, sure. It's a Christian ministry that serves people who are Christian or not, doesn't matter. It serves people that are locked up. The focus is on juveniles, the people that are mentally ill, and the people that are drug-addled. So those are our three areas of focus. And what we're doing is we're going inside to build enduring relationships with men and women and boys and girls, like trying to, the typical jail ministry is like getting people to say the sinner's prayer, give them a King James Bible, and that's it, check them off the list. This is more like, I want to get to know somebody. Like, if a guy gets 20 years, I want to stay in touch with him while he's locked up. If he goes home, I want to stay in touch with him as he gets a job and finishes his education. And it's about building these enduring relationships and then telling the story as well. Like, I really am, I feel like I'm on a shaky bridge between two disparate populations, So on one hand, we're mentoring to a lot of kids who are locked up or a lot of guys who are in drug and alcohol treatment. But we're also ministering to this sort of affluent ex-Serbian population of white guys who don't really understand the pain, and they have a lot of preconceived notions about my guys. I have a golf tournament every year at my club to raise money for it. And like, guys are like, we're not going to bring any of those criminals there. I'm like, dude, I'm a criminal. Like, you let me in this club. Like, I'm a felon, for heaven's sakes. Like, don't be so quick to judge people, And yeah, I am bringing them. So get used to it.
I mean, I think, yeah, I love the way that you're doing this. This is, your story is inspiring on so many levels. Just your ability to self-reflect is unique. You've totally changed your identity, your world, your list of priorities for you personally. And I think it feels to me like it's all a product of your ability to self-reflect, which is, it's pretty rare.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I didn't give you that Bible for no reason, man. Like, you got to read that thing. It's about it's about faith. It really is. It's like, it's life-changing. It's life-altering, and like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything without my faith. When I slip and like don't go to church enough or stop going to Bible study or start to depend on myself, like, I can feel it so quickly. It's so easy to have it slip away,
So what is it about you that makes you vulnerable to this kind of, like, to slipping up in this kind of way? Like, what's the need that life sometimes doesn't satisfy that makes you vulnerable to temptation like this?
Well, it's like a lot of people want to call addiction, an illness, and people push back against that really hard. But I think there's a component to it. Like a buddy of mine said, like, well, if you're allergic to cats, it's not your fault you're allergic to cats. And then just very crudely he'd say, but it is your job to keep the fucking cat off your lap. Like, so like, all right, yeah, maybe I do have an illness with this stuff and a propensity to commit sin, but it's my responsibility to not do that stuff. I got to keep the cat off my lap at all times. And
so what is your cat? Is your cat risk taking?
It's just I just have a really deeply ingrained sense of lack of worth. Which is funny because I do tell a good story and people think I have everything put together, but I don't. In the quiet of the night, it's a lot of times where I feel deeply unworthy.
John, thanks for saying that, mate. I feel you. Sometimes I think all of us, especially at like 4 a.m., you wake up and you're like, who am I kidding? Like that. I think that feeling is really universal. So, hey, thanks for being able to say it.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks for telling me your story, John. I've really loved our time together. I really admire a lot about what you're doing. I'd love that. Come visit me
in Baltimore. I'll take you to an AA meeting and church.
Okay. I'll take you out to dinner.
Okay, that's right. There we go. Yeah, we have forced baptisms on Sunday nights, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
that
great.
Was a joke.
Sounds electric. Today's episode was produced by Rachel Tuffrey. Ellie Dickey is our intern. Jimmy Saunders did our theme music. Our cover art is by Rich Akers. And this whole thing has been a Super Ill production.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
This is not a drill. You can get the new iPhone 16e with Apple Intelligence for just $49.99 when you switch to Boost Mobile.
Wait, that's the actual fire alarm. We need to go. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store for full offer details. Apple Intelligence requires iOS 18.1 or later. Restrictions apply.